Thank you. Okay, I think we will. This is the first live stream, so there will be some technical issues here and there. So please, I apologize for that. But yeah, thank you for joining. I see Karishma, you have joined, and we'll see. I think I haven't actually posted too many messages about this live chat, just a community message. So I don't know how many people will be able to join. But nevertheless, I just wanted to kind of start from somewhere so that, this being the first one, if there are any technical issues, etc., then we come to know about it. And maybe going forwards, I will be better prepared about it. Okay, so if you have joined this live stream, I would request you to please leave a comment or give a thumbs up so I know that you are there. And also, please let me know if you can hear me well, if you can see me well. If there are any issues, then leave a comment, and I will try to come back to the screen and see. Okay, so what I will do is I will go ahead now and start a bit of conversation around project management, product management, basically, not project management, product management, and particularly agile project management, agile product management. I have been making some videos on payments, as many of you have already seen, right? And I am myself a techno-functional IT consultant. So that said, it's very, very important that it's not just the domain aspects that we talk about, but we kind of talk about things that are very, very relevant, very, very important in the kind of job market or in the kind of scenarios that you have typically in projects, right? So merely just being fantastic. Thanks, Karishma, for the confirmation. Okay, so basically, the idea was that we come up and talk a little bit about product management concepts and why is it so relevant to talk about these concepts today, right? Now, product management is actually not something which is very, very new or has just recently come up. I think it's a very, very age-old concept, right? Like right from the old days, product management was always there, but it became very, very relevant in the IT sector or particularly in the service sector, technology areas, only like in the few recent years when we started working on agile mode in the projects. So I don't really know like how many of you have background to agile. If you do not have much background to agile, then I would really recommend to kind of go through a little bit of agile concepts. Maybe we can talk about agile concepts in one of our future sessions as well. But in today's session, we will be focusing a little bit on product management, particularly the agile way of doing the things. Okay, so yeah, I think that's pretty much is the agenda for today's session. So what I will do is just give me one moment. I will get the Miro board ready. For those of you who don't know Miro, I think I use this board very frequently in my videos, and this is a very good utility by which you can actually collaboratively share the board and work on together. As in, people are not physically located at one place now, so it's not practically possible for all of us to go into a room and do some whiteboarding, and which is where I think Miro is really, really helpful. Now, Miro gives you this option to create, to do some sketching. You can do your flow diagram depiction, and when people can work collaboratively from any part of the world. There is a free version of Miro that I'm using. This is very popularly used in many organizations these days, and obviously they have a paid version as well. So the paid version has many other advantages, like you can have a number of users, and you can create as many boards as you want. But this is a free version, so there might be some limitations. Now, the best way to do this is that we come up with a board, and some of us who are on this live stream actually work on this collaboratively, right? So we look at a problem statement, and then what we try to do is we try to work as a team, as a Scrum team, right? And look at that problem statement and try to come up with the board, try to arrange the things the way we want to, and that gives us a lot of confidence, right? Like what's the overall objective of this team, what does the team want to do in this particular sprint. So I'm using some terminologies like scrum team, sprints. Please leave a comment and let me know if there is anything that you do not understand, because there's no point in talking about that if you don't understand it. So probably what I will do is I will take a pause and I will talk about those things first. Okay, so just let me know if there is anything that you do not understand um, about what I just said. I'll just take a pause for 15 seconds. In the meantime, I'll get my board ready and you can let me know. Okay. Yeah. So the board is ready. I think I'm going to share the board now. So you should be able to see the board. Okay. I have just transitioned to the other screen now on the board. So can you please leave a comment and let me know if you can see the board, and then I will get going. Is the board visible? Can you see the board? Okay, great. So, okay, fantastic. So I think so Karishma says that she is already having an agile background and she is good with the agile terms. Yeah, I think that is fantastic. I think we are using agile almost in every project now. I mean, we do still have waterfall projects, um, and it's not that waterfall is not good all the time, and this is a very very like kind of a debatable topic, right? Many people think that waterfall is like an old concept, um, and it's no longer used, it's no longer relevant. But there are some scenarios when you are working practically in the projects, you would feel that um, even even waterfall is a good approach here, right? For example, if there are projects which are kind of fixed bid T&M, right? I'll just probably write as well when I'm talking, so it kind of makes more sense, right? So we typically uh, in our in our project terminology, we talk about two kind of projects, right? When you talk about project management, say for example, we just say that there is a project called as T&M project, right? And then there is a project called as fixed bid project, or fixed price rather, right? FP as they call it. Now, the fundamental difference, I think some of you may know already, or rather majority of you may know, is basically the fact that can you see the scribbling on the board? I think you should be able to, but I think I have a bit of lag on my end when I'm looking at the stream. So yeah, I think I can probably see it. Okay, so T&M is more like a way where when you are working for consulting companies, you typically work for clients, and the consulting companies would charge the client on on a on a daily basis or a man-day basis, number of resources, etc. Right? So we say that this is a time and money project where we give you somebody to work on your projects, and then we charge you, and you pay only for the number of days this person is working on. And on the fixed price, wherein what we do is we take the entire ownership of the project, and what we say is that, well, we take the whole risk of the delivery, and if something doesn't go right, then the risk is with us, and we will be managing the project ourselves. Whereas in T&M, it's kind of like we only work more like resources there, and the management and the risks still lie with the customers or our clients. Now, what really happens is that when we work in projects which are T&M and fixed price, particularly when there are T&M projects, right? Sometimes the overall delivery date is kind of fixed. Um, for example, there would be a date which will be given to you in the month of January and told that you have to deliver this project by December, period. That's the statement. And obviously, we do all the risk assumptions and whatnot in the beginning of the project, but then down the line in April or May, you realize that there is a big gap in the requirements. the requirements have changed frequently and things like that, right? And therefore it becomes very difficult to deliver the project within the committed date, right? So that's where I think it's very, very important that we wear that hat of agile product manager or a product owner, and then decide what's the best way of running this project, whether it's going to be a waterfall, whether it's going to be whether it's going to be agile. Now waterfall typically works well when you have the requirements stated correctly. You know that the requirements are not going to change, everything has been documented well, and there is a finish date given to you. So there, sometimes running agile is more like an overhead, right? You wouldn't want to do that, because agile is not actually just about calling a team as a scrum team, but there you have to follow all the ceremonies of agile. You have to break your teams, and the work breakdown structure has to be in a sprint mode and all of those things, right? So it comes with its own overhead, which is actually good, as in it pays it with time. But then sometimes it's a 6 month or a 8 month project, and you know that all of your requirements are kind of fixed. You wouldn't want to invest too much on the agile resources there, right? So it is more like you have to wear that hat at times and then decide what is the best way for me to run my project. Okay, so that said, let's quickly talk about the agile way of doing the product management. Now, as I just mentioned to you, that it is very, very difficult to have a project where all of the requirements are fixed, right? So for example, we are doing a lot of migration these days. We are doing a lot of projects where we do migration from, say, some legacy technology to an open source platform, maybe from mainframes to some big data open source platform or things like that, right? Or it could be a report migration, or it could be dashboards, or it could be applications for that matter. Now, what really happens is that in the agile product management world, we know that requirements will evolve, right? It's a very, very rapidly evolving world, and more so within payments, we see that things get evolved very, very rapidly. Now, why does it happen? See, if you work in financial market projects, there would be a variety of areas that you could be working on. You could be working on payments, you could be working on maybe insurance, you could be working on capital markets, and if you actually, obviously I can't probably speak much on behalf of insurance and other areas, particularly, yes, capital markets and payments I can, because I have worked in these areas extensively. But one thing I definitely appreciate is that payments is a very, very rapidly evolving domain. That's because the payment is more about transactions, right? How customers interact with the merchants, how banks interact with the customers, and therefore it becomes very, very important that customer is always given the best possible services that are fast, services that are agile, and services that give value add to the customer. What I mean by that is, if for example you are a MasterCard customer or a Visa customer, and I am a competitor network, okay, and I know that you have been using a Visa or a MasterCard customer and you are a loyal customer, but how do I break the market? How do I get more customer share there? And until and unless I evolve my payments platform, my technology platform, until and unless I give more value add services to you, maybe more benefits of why you should migrate, etc., you wouldn't be interested, right? Or maybe for that matter, a bank, an issuing bank, for example. Yeah. So if it's an issuing bank, it has to give the best possible services. Otherwise, the customers will run away, right? We're not living in a scenario or an age where once you are becoming a customer of a bank, it's a lifelong commitment. So the commitment these days change very, very rapidly. 1 year and 2 years you are with a bank, and then you find out that this bank is not giving me the best possible interest rates in today's high cost of living market. Then I would just switch over and move to somebody else who is giving me a better interest rate. So it's that rapidly evolving, and that is where I think it's very, very important that that we understand the relevance of agile product management. Okay, so that said, I think please leave a comment and let me know if you want me to take a pause, if I'm going too fast, too slow. This is my first live stream, so please bear with me, please cooperate and be kind to me. Um, so, so why is agile product management then so relevant, right? So the thing is, it gives you a chance to stop, to look back, and to reflect and see what is working and what is not working, right? And if you have a project, let's just say that you have a migration project where you have, let's say, a mainframes application. Okay, I'm just using this example. So you have a mainframes application, okay, and you want to migrate this to, say, a big data platform, for example. Yeah, so I'll say you migrate this to a big data platform. We are not using any particular technology. Let's just make it technology agnostic for now. But this is the kind of ask that is given to you, right? Now, this is your project. When you initially come up with the requirements, you may be, and let's just say that you are the product manager for this project, okay? So I will just maybe create a persona here, and I will say that this person here is the product manager for this particular project. Now, when you start looking into the requirements, you start defining the roadmap, right? So what are the kind of typical things that this person will do? This person, he or she, would be working on defining the roadmap, right? Defining the roadmap, very, very important. What does this mean? What does the roadmap mean? So what is the vision of this product, right? What does this product want to do? Is it merely a migration of mainframes application, as in you migrate from the mainframes application to the big data platform, and the platform should do exactly what the mainframes application is doing, or it should also do things in a better way? There are changes that the new platform should be doing. There are some more value added services that can be derived, some more analytics that can be derived from the big data platform. Okay, now we use this term analytics over here, right? Now, this is an advantage that you typically get when you migrate to an open source flexible framework. Everything is modular, so there is no tight coupling between the components, right? So in mainframes, everything is kind of tightly coupled. It's very difficult to derive analytics. You can, but it's very, very difficult. Whereas in this big data platform, everything is like loosely coupled. Okay, so if you see this big data platform, basically there would be a set of microservices that will be talking to each other, and this is one service, this is second service, and this is third service, right? And these services would actually be doing the entire platform work for you, right? They would be working in tandem, hand in gloves with each other. So I can use the data from any of these microservices, do some massaging on that data, and change it the way I want to. And that's the advantage of having this platform. Now, in the mainframe system, you don't have these advantages, right? It is a very, very tightly coupled platform. And that is where it is important that you as a product manager decide that should I only be looking at the migration aspect, or should I also be looking at some of these other aspects which can potentially be uncovered now that I'm moving into a new platform. Now, you can't be a master of all the areas, right? You could potentially be good at defining the roadmap, talking to the stakeholders, maybe talking to the technical team as well. But when it comes to the technical delivery of this solution, you may not be the best person to do that. Okay, and that is very, very important to understand. And what I'm telling you, some of these things is out of the experience, you can say, or maybe what I see in the projects these days, in typical scenarios, etc. Right? The expectation sometimes doesn't match. And what I mean by that is, if you are a technical architect, or if you are a data modeler, then you are expected to perform that role. But sometimes, because the way the teams are structured, and sometimes it's unavoidable, right? It's you are into a situation where your opinion has been sought after, and then that opinion is then translated further into a fact, and then things start going down from there. And that is what we want to avoid. And that is where it is very, very critical that you as a product manager understand these aspects, that if you see that there is somebody who is kind of overstepping on somebody else's toes, then you stop it over there. Okay, or you might yourself be doing that at times and you don't realize it, right? The thing is, we don't realize. Sometimes when we are talking to technical teams, sometimes we are talking to the business analysts or the functional people, we start behaving like we are one of them. And that is where I think you have to just take a step back, bring yourself out from the equation, see yourself as a different persona, as there are two different set of people, right? Your technical teams and um, your uh, your functional business analysts, and understand what they are trying to say, and then figure out what's the best possible solution given all the constraints that you have. You may be having a constraint for resources, you may be having a constraint for time, you may be having some other technical constraints, right? Maybe procuring some of the best technologies is not possible because your organization has certain constraints. They may not be comfortable with a particular technology vendor. So all these things, right? It's a mix of so many things that you have to take care of, right? And that's where it's very, very important that you understand the role of this persona called product manager. Now, this product manager, as I said, works with different teams, right? And we talked about the fact that he has to play a neutral role at times. He should listen to all the parties, whether it's a technical architect or a tech lead, um, or the functional people, the SMEs. But everybody will have the opinion derived of what they think is the best solution. And you as a product manager have to then decide what is the optimal solution, optimally best solution, right? So maybe there are 10 different ideas that are coming in from the functional team, but I am only interested in 5 of them. So I should only be focusing on 5 of these. And then take the inputs from the technical team and understand what is achievable, what is not achievable, what would be the challenges there, and accordingly define the roadmap. Now, roadmap will also tell you where exactly you are today, where exactly you want to be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year down the line. That roadmap typically aligns with your organization roadmap. Basically, your organization has a target. Let's, for example, say that it is an issuing bank, and that issuing bank has a target to come up with a new kind of a debit card, which is typically aimed for people who are in the age group of 25 to 35 years. Okay, young age group, and they want to target this particular age group so that this age group uses more cards, the adoption increases, and therefore that's the end goal for this organization. Okay, that's kind of the north star for this organization, that this is what we want to do. Now this further then goes down to different teams, right? And every team in the organization, every department in the organization understands that this is the end goal. So there could be a team who is working on so security aspects of how the security should be handled, customer security and cardholder security and those kind of things. There could be a team who is basically working on rewards, right? How we can provide the best possible rewards to the customer. Multiple teams, but they all work onto the same goal, right? So the roadmap, typically this roadmap here, it aligns with uh, with the organization goal. Very, very important. If you are new to this, if you're not, then apologies if anything of this is repetitive or is not making too much of sense to you. But yeah, if for someone who's kind of new to these things, it might be helpful. So whenever you create a roadmap, it has to align with the organization's vision. Right. Now, what happens next is that when you have the roadmap ready, you have to work with various teams, various stakeholders, and divide all of your work into various features, right? Or what should be, let's say for example, if it's a new platform, this big data platform that we were talking about, we break down this whole development activity into different features. Okay, so there could be one feature, second feature, third feature, fourth features. Now features is something like a feature in a product, right? When you buy a television, the television would have a lot of features. For example, a television should have a nice looking screen. Okay, so that screen would be one feature. The television should have good sound quality. That is another feature. the television should be able to have 200 or 300 programmable channels. Third feature, the television should be able to work on Wi-Fi and some of the new networking technologies as well. Fourth feature, so you kind of add all of these features and then decide that this is what my product should have. Okay, that's basically the concept of a feature. Very, very simple, very, very easy to understand layman terminology, right? And there's nothing fancy in this. Now, when you create a feature, it is very, very important to understand whether that feature is actually important for the project or not. If the product demand is, let's say, for example, if it's about television and you want to come up with a low cost solution, right? A television which is low in cost. I'll probably just write it down here as well. So let's say we are creating a product which is a television. We want some of these factors. For example, the television should be low cost. Okay. And you want to kind of have some sort of arrangements for people who cannot pay. So maybe some EMI option, etc., is what you want to come up with as well. And you want that television to have a good picture quality, maybe a decent picture quality. Okay, so these are the three things that you want to focus on given the constraints that you have. Now there could be more things. For example, you may want to have a good sound, but then that's not your first priority. If your good sound, and that's not your first priority, but if at all it, the budget permits, the constraints permit, then why not? You would want to have that feature as well. Maybe then you would also want to have it working on the latest Wi-Fi technology, right? Maybe Wi-Fi 6, for example, it should work on. So there is a question I see there by Vanillin. EMI. Oh, EMI actually is a very, very, it's a term that is predominantly used in India, where it's like equated monthly installment. Okay, so equated monthly installment. So it's typically like you buy something, and I think it's everywhere, but we use it a lot. And the concept is like you buy something and you pay the money along with the interest into divided chunks, right? So every month you would pay something back, and that's how you kind of buy the thing. Okay, so yeah, so I was talking about television as a product, right? So we defined that there are some features: the low cost, EMI option should be there, picture quality should be good, good sound quality should be there, and Wi-Fi 6, for example, should be there. Now, as a product manager, you have to decide what is possible. Maybe you have a budget that you have to sell this TV. At the end of it, the costs of producing this television, of manufacturing this television, should not exceed, I'm just giving a hypothetical example, okay, should not exceed $200. Now, you know that you have to make this television in $200. Within $200, having all of these features is not possible. You can only probably focus on the ones that are very, very important. Now, how do you define this importance? Again, you have to look at the vision. The vision of the company is to sell this television to people who have low income and people who can buy this on EMIs as well. So you would focus on low cost, you would focus on EMI. Well, picture quality needs to be decent, but because otherwise, what's the point in buying a television if the picture quality is awful? So again, you want to probably trade off, right? And you say that maybe I can negotiate a little bit on sound. Maybe sound is okay. I don't want to have it like the best possible bass, or what do you say, DTX and those kind of technologies, Dolby. I'm okay with if it has a good sound, but the picture quality is something that I would like to improve. So maybe that the picture quality should be 1080p at least, okay, because this is the bare minimum that you would want to still give it to the consumer. And then Wi-Fi 6, maybe not. Okay, that's fine. I don't expect my customers to have the latest Wi-Fi and all of those kind of things, but this is what I want to target on. So this is how you define the features. Now these features would then sit on your board. Okay, so you have your product board, and you say that after all of this brainstorming, when you do this decision making of what should be going as a feature into your project, or product rather. I'm using this word project a lot because obviously when you work in consulting, you kind of always talk about projects. Apologies, but yeah, it's all about products. So when you talk about products and when you talk about defining the features, it's very, very important that you take opinions, you talk to people. As a product manager or as a product owner, it's very, very important that you talk to people, take their interviews as in not as in interviews when what we have for job interviews, but you talk to the person, understand what his point of view is, maybe talk to someone who is from the finance team and understand what are the pain points that he has if you put EMI as a priority feature for your product. Or maybe talk to the picture quality team, the team that manufactures the LED or the LCD screens for your television. Understand the pain points from that team. That will make you a better informed person. Now that said, you do not need to become a technical architect or the lead for that particular department. Your only job is to understand the pain points. Okay, that's what I'm trying to focus on. Once you have all of that, you have a list of features that you want to define for your product. Okay, so you say that, okay, now I have, after all of this refinement and grooming and all of these conversations, I have figured out that my top priority features are low cost. I really want to make this as affordable as possible without cutting the corners. Then the second thing I want to focus is on financing so that it's easily accessible, and I want to focus on picture quality. Right, so these are your top priority features. The other features will be there, like sound should be okay, that in that same priority. So, and then Wi-Fi, for example. So this is your priority 1 feature, this is your priority 2 feature, this is your priority 3 feature, and that is how you define your overall product goal. Now comes the interesting part. Okay, now that you have got all of these features, you need a team who will work on these features, right? Now it could happen that this cannot be done by one team. There are multiple teams that might be needed. Now when we come to the team structuring, let's just say that we have got 3 different teams. Okay, so one team is your finance team, which will work on the costing part, the installment part and all of those things. Okay, so that's one team that needs to work on. The second team would be your team that is working on what was that? Picture quality. Okay, let's call it as picture quality here. Okay, and then there are third teams who would be working on the sound aspects and so on and so forth. Okay, so we have got these 3 different teams. This team has my first important priority, second important priority, third important priority. Okay, now we can have Scrum teams. Again, we are not talking about Scrum in detail here, but because we want to do this in an Agile product management way, so we will say that we will create a Scrum team. Typically a team of about 5 to 8 members. So I'll say that I'll have 5 to 8 members. Now again, obviously when you're when you're manufacturing a television, 5 to 8 members may not be sufficient, and you may need more people and more skills and more technology stuff. But I'm just taking an example for the sake of understanding. Okay, so 5 to 8 members team is what I have for my financing part. Then another 5 to 8 members team is what I will have for my picture quality stuff. And then the third 5 to 8 members team I will have for my sound aspects. Okay. So when I have these 3 teams, now the job is for me to be able to manage the progress of these 3 teams. Now I don't tell these teams how they need to create the installment products or the finance products. I will not tell the picture quality team of how they should be creating the LEDs. No, that is not my job. I will not get into that. My only job is to tell them that I need this feature. These are the important bits and pieces in that feature. Now those important bits and pieces is basically called as acceptance criteria. Okay, acceptance criteria. Now what is acceptance criteria? When do you say that this screen is exactly the screen that you want your product or your television to have. That's what is called as acceptance criteria. Your acceptance criteria is something that should be understood and agreed upon with your team, because if it is not understood, then obviously the product would be faulty. There would be a different kind of screen that would be made, and that is something that you do not want. If at all the teams have understood it but they are not able to achieve it, then again it's a problem, right? Because given the constraints that you have, maybe you have a deadline or something and you want to make sure that before you the box, the plastic box of the television is made, your LED testing should be completed. Maybe that's the kind of dependency that you have. Okay, so there is another team who is working on the boxing part of the television, the plastics and the aesthetics and all of that. But before that team starts working, it's very, very important for your product and for the successful go live or the launch of the product, that your LED work has to be completed in time. So you will have to discuss this with your team who is working on creating the LED and understand their point of view and see whether it's achievable, not achievable. There could be some trade-offs that you might need to do. Again, you have to wear the product hat over there. So your team who is manufacturing the LEDs might come to you and say that, look, we can make this for you. You say that you want this to be delivered by March 2023. Okay, so your LED should be ready by March 2023, but there would be certain things that cannot be done. So maybe we can give you not a 1080p, but maybe a 540p, or what's the other one, 760p or something. Yeah, so that kind of resolution is what we can give you, and we cannot give you a 1080p within this timeline. We can give you this by July 2023. Now you have a problem, right? So they say that if you want 1080p resolution, we can give you this by July 2023. We can only give you 720 for now. So if you are okay with 720, then let us know and we can talk about it. If you need 1080p, then you might need to add more resources in terms of technology upgradation, in terms of manpower, in terms of finances for this team, etc., etc. And maybe time as well, right? So even if you give the money and the resources, time is not enough. You still need another 3 months. Now that is where you have to wear the hat of the product manager and decide what is the best thing for your product. Are you okay to wait for another 3 months and delay the entire go live? Are you not okay to wait for another 3 months? In which case you would want to go with 720p as the initial go live, and then maybe create another version of this product after 3 months or 4 months. So again, in the television world, it might be not possible to have another version, but say in the software world or in payments, for example, you may want to create another version of that particular API or that particular application, right? So that is what I want to tell you. It's very, very important that you decide what is important for your product. Okay, whether you want to have the features as is, or you would want to maybe compromise there a little bit, maybe adjust it down a little bit, because you know that it's very, very important. If you don't go live by say July, and given that your LED has to be completed by March, and all the other boxing and other things have to be completed in another 3 months, you know that you have to go live by July 2023. So it's very, very important for you then to kind of do the trade-off over there and say that, okay, I'll go with 720p for now. Maybe next year I'll probably come up with a new version with 1080p. In the meantime, in this 1 year period, I will also see the customer sentiment. Whether the customer is okay with this television, not okay with this television. What is the feedback overall? 720p is actually not as bad as it sounds. Sometimes 720p is as good as 1080p. So you never know, that trade-off might be okay for you. So these are the kind of things which kind of you have to factor into the equation. Right. So once your acceptance criteria has been agreed upon, the teams will start working on this, right? So you have got now different Scrum teams. Now I will make some Venn diagram kind of things here. Okay, not exactly Venn diagrams, but just to kind of understand this a little bit better. Okay, so you have got your team 1, which is working on your finances. You have got your team 2 and your team 3. So finances here, and your LED, and then your sound. Okay, so these three teams will start working on your product goal, and they will define and pick up that feature and start working it. Now that feature will then be groomed further. Okay, initially you have given the feature with just the requirements of having an installment option and making it low cost, but there could be hundreds of different things behind the scenes, right, that you may want to just factor in. There could be things like what kind of loans, what kind of credit history checks need to be done. Are you okay if the credit history is not at the top level, and maybe not, there are a few issues here and there in the credit history, but are you still okay if you see that the customer has a good job profile and is earning good, and you can still give the television to him? So again, not your job, but all I'm saying is that grooming has to happen in terms of what is the feature supposed to do, what is the feature supposed to look at, right? And then you may be then deciding that this feature eventually, from a better product management driving perspective, needs to be broken down into, say, 5 different features. Okay, F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. What are these 5 different features? One feature would probably target on just trying to see where you can actually reduce the cost of manufacturing. The second feature would be focusing more on how do I create the loan options for the customer. The third feature could be focusing on how do I market these loan options so that the customer knows about these loan options. The fourth feature could be something about some external party checks, some compliance checks. If you are giving a loan, you may need to do some compliance checks, etc. For your organization, like it has to mandatorily do these checks, etc. So there is another separate feature for that. Now these features will then be picked up by this team, and then again prioritized depending upon what is the most important thing to work on. And then that feature is divided into user stories. What is a user story? So again, like I said, we are only talking about product management, not about Agile and Scrum here in this particular session. And I'm assuming that many of you might be knowing about it, but then user story is basically more like what you want to do, as in one of the components that adds value to this feature. So maybe you can break down this loan thing into something like, you should be able to do the checks successfully, the credit checks for the successfully for the customer. That is your first user story. Second user story is to provide various loan options to the customer depending upon the credit checks. So your user story first is about doing the checks. The second is about providing loan options. Okay, so obviously you cannot provide the loan options before you do the checks, right? It doesn't make sense. You can't give a loan to someone without doing a credit check. Simple. So you will do this user story logically first, then the second story will be picked up. And this is exactly how the other teams will also define their piece of work, right? So we will not go into the detail for the other teams now, but I hope you got an idea of how the teams would be doing this structuring for their work. Okay, so maybe the television team, maybe the LED team will decide that I want to first focus on creating the panel, and then I will focus on working on the resolution part, or vice versa. I don't know, but I'm just saying that they will again divide that work into different user stories and prioritize that. All these user stories are then divided into sprints. Yeah, so we have a sprint. Now typically in software world, a sprint is about a 3 weeks duration that you normally see, but again it could be a 2-week or even 4 weeks sprint. But this is how you have a sprint. And once you have some of the substantial work completed within, say, 4 sprints time, you say that you will have a program increment over there. Okay, so basically what it basically means is that your product has an incremental value achieved. Now whatever you wanted to do in the first quarter of the year, maybe working on the loans, there are 5 different features that were there for the loan provisioning, right? So credit checks was one of them. The first feature was about understanding the customer, the second about credit checks, the third about providing the loan options, etc., etc. All these 5 cannot be completed together in 4 sprints. So only the first 2 features can be delivered in 4 sprints, which is what we call it as a program increment. Okay, PI, program increment. So that is where I think you have to decide how the program increment should be structured. What is it that you want to deliver in that program increment? Now, depending upon the outcome of that program increment, you will do the necessary changes. And that is where, again, this is all agile, and that is where I think the emphasis is on the word agile, because it's not casted in stone that whatever you have defined at the beginning of the year in terms of your four increments for this year will be done and delivered that way. There would be a lot of challenges that would come in. So some maybe your technical lead falls ill and he's away for 2 weeks, and that has actually put a brake on the progress of the LED panel production, right? So that is another challenge, a setback that you have that you had not foreseen. You may be factoring in a week, days off, sick leaves, etc. in your plan or your product vision, etc. that you may be wanting, additional 6 months or 3 months for that particular thing. But there is a challenge, right? And so you always have to revisit how your increment is at the end of the program increment phase, and again re-strategize and replan. And what happens is when you re-strategize and replan, all of these teams come together. Now, it would be a disaster. It would really be a disaster if all of these teams are working in a silo mode, right? What does it mean? That they don't talk to each other. They are just working in parallel and without any communication whatsoever happening between each other. Now, drawbacks would be that the LED panel wouldn't know how the sound team is working. What are the kind of challenges? Maybe there are certain aspects for the LED panel which are very critical for them to know, and therefore it is important that they talk to the sound team all the time. Maybe the LED panel has actually considered a technology or a product to make the LED, which is a high cost product, and because they were not talking to the costing team, they didn't realize it. Maybe the costing team would have given a strict no and said that no, you have a dependency on us. You can't use this particular product to build the LED screen because it's a high quality, high cost product. I would rather say that you can use some other option, and then the technology team would go back to the drawing board, figure out what are the other options, and go back to the costing team and agree. Now, the thing that I'm trying to focus on here is the interdependency aspects. Very important, and I see so many times the products failing because of this particular fact, just because people are not talking to each other, right? And it's a very cliche line that you would have heard all the time, that it's not about the technology, right? Software products and projects, for that matter, they do not fail because of technology. The challenge always is about the communication, the gaps that are there in the requirements, the gaps that are there because people do not talk to each other, and the gaps that happen because of assuming things. And that is the important bit that I'm trying to stress upon here, that whenever there is a challenge in communication, it is always going to have a negative impact on your product. And you as a product manager has a very important role to play over there. You have to make sure that your teams are talking to each other. All the product owners for these particular 3 streams, right? So your finance stream will have a product owner, right? He will have a product owner, and then there will be a second product owner for your LED, and the third product owner for sound, right? So all these product owners, who are these product owners? Well, they are the owners of this product in their own ways. They do not control how the product owner for the LED team would not control how the finance team should work or what's the feature, right? But rather he would be focusing on what the LED team has to do. When the LED team is ready with the final product, the LED, then this particular product owner for the LED will actually say that, yes, this is what I wanted and this is good enough and I accept this. He is the one who will be looking at the acceptance criteria and authorizing that, yes, this is working as expected, in line with the acceptance criteria for the product. Now, all of these product owners also have to talk to each other, right? So that they understand the interdependencies aspects. They understand what is important from a finance perspective for an LED team and vice versa. And that is the important bit, right? So we talked, I think we should probably maybe stop here. I think it's almost an hour that we have been talking about it. but I hope like maybe this would have given you some sort of insights about the challenges that we have in running teams on agile product management basis, right? It's very very important. I mean, I can't really emphasize more on the fact that it is so critical these days that we stick to running the projects in an agile way, running the projects on a product management basis. So product necessarily does not need to be a product, right? Something that is a product that you can see. It could be a service as well, right? So it's not necessarily that it's only a television or maybe a mobile phone or a mic or an LCD or a laptop that is a product. It could be a service. It could be the way you are transacting with your customers as far as payments is concerned, right? So that's a product, and that's what you have to understand. And yeah, I think maybe what we'll do is, if I don't know, let me know in the comments, guys, how you felt about this session. Was it useful, not useful? And then depending upon that, I was planning to kind of have more touch bases with all of you going forwards whenever time permits on weekends, and we can carry the conversation from there. There is a question or a comment there. Can we have another session where you can take an example of the real payments industry? Okay, yeah, we can definitely talk about that. So today we were just talking about television, just for the sake of understanding product management and the key pain points, the key areas that we should be talking about and should be knowing about. But maybe in one of the next sessions, I think we can talk about payments industry. So maybe we can take an example where some transaction happens between the acquiring side and the issuing side, and what are the typical challenges that happen in the product management way. Yeah, so that would be good. But if you guys have any other suggestion, guys, please leave a comment and let me know, because I wouldn't know until and unless you comment and let me know. It's a very very it's like, I'm talking on the camera here, and maybe there are a few people who are listening, not listening, I don't know, but it's a very very weird feeling, like, you're talking on the camera and you are all alone in the room. So do let me know how you find this session. I am really looking forward to talk to as many of you as possible. And also, I don't know if you have got a chance to visit my website. That's called as easyfight.com. If you haven't, try to visit that website. It's a new initiative where I'm trying to put more content which I cannot put here on streams and on videos. For example, some test questions, interview questions, etc. for payments specifically. And my idea is to kind of enhance that website a little bit more. But that's something that I plan to do in 2023. But still, if you get a chance to visit that website and let me know how you think about it, what are the things that you would want to see in that website. So the thing is, like, I really want that to be of some value, right? Not just another website which is lying there in the dust. So if there is something that you feel that you want to see on that website, let me know. I'll try my best to work upon that. Yeah, I'll put the website name in the chat once again for all of you. So it's called as easyfight.com. I couldn't think of a fancier name than this. So do hit this website. It's like I said, it's a very sort of a basic website right now in the works, but still some content out there which I think you might be finding useful. And apart from that, I have also launched some memberships on the channel. You can join me, wherein we can probably take these discussions to the next level. We can probably have this Miro board conversation as in participative mode, right? So maybe all of you just do not listen to what I'm saying. You would come here on the Miro board and do the drawing yourself. Okay, so you can do your own plans, you can design your own features, etc., and that would give you a lot of confidence. Let's say if you want to become take up that role of somebody in the product world, then I think that will give you a lot of confidence. So that's another thing that I'm trying to kind of see if if people are interested, we can probably look at that as an option as well. And that will obviously, like, I'll need to probably work on the resources part as well to give you the access and all of those kind of things, but we can work it out. So do check out the join option as well. There are 3 different levels, and depending upon what works for you, you can probably opt for one of them, if at all you wish to. But still, all of this content, all of these conversations will still continue as usual on this channel, and I will look forward to talking to as many of you as possible in the coming weeks and days. So with that, I will wrap up this session. I hope you found this session useful, but still do share the feedback in the comments and let me know how you felt about it. Thank you very much for your time on the weekend. Have a good weekend, and I will see you all once again pretty soon. And by the way, guys, I just wanted to tell you one more thing. I'd be in India for a few days in December. I'd be around in the Delhi area for a few days, maybe 3-4 days, around 4th or 5th of December, and then towards the end of December as well, around 26th, 27th. So if you guys are in the Delhi area, and maybe if you have some time to meet in person, I would really love to catch up with you over a coffee or something. Yeah, so please do let me know if you are free and if you are in the Delhi region in India. I'd be there in India in December, and we can probably have a catch up. All right, guys, thank you very much. There's another question. Can we do? So Karishma says, your videos are helping me a lot to understand the payments industry. There are not many resources on payments, so your channel has brought in a lot of confidence in me. Thank you, Karishma. I think, see, I mean, I don't claim myself as a payment expert, to be honest. I am just a consultant, as probably many of you are, or are working in, IT companies. So I'm also kind of like you, but my only point is, like, whatever I have learned, I share with all of you. Sometimes, I also learn from you guys. When you post your comments, a lot of times people correct me as well, that no, maybe this is how it is now. This was how it was 3 years back, but now things have changed. So it's a two-way process. I get to learn from you guys as well. And trust me, this has given me as well a lot of confidence, like when I talk to you guys. And I think, today we are living in times where, all of us have a digital profile, right? It's no longer the paper resume that works anymore. So either somebody has a GitHub where they have a lot of code, a lot of things to showcase to. Somebody has a YouTube channel. Somebody has a Medium blog that they are posting some nice articles to. So I think, it's a good thing, and it's something to look forward to on the weekends for me. So I would really recommend this to all of you as well. If in your own ways, whatever is your hobby, try to bring it to the audience. It's really, really good way of relieving your stress as well. I really love to do this. I can do this on and off all the time. I can wake up whole night and do this live stream, so that's the kind of passion that I have for this. And whatever is your passion, just follow that, is what I can say. Can we do a session about digital lending infrastructure? Digital lending, okay, yeah. Let me just think about it and see when we can slot this, because right now I think the focus is more about some of the things, key areas around payments, basics, and product management, and how these two things work together. But as soon as we get a chance to jump onto digital lending, maybe we can, let me make a note of it actually. So we want to put it on the board as well. Digital lending is one of the suggestions that has come in. Yeah, I'll put it in my backlog. Yeah, so we run this channel like a product. We create a backlog for all the features that we want to see. So a digital lending is another feature that has come up, and we'll prioritize it accordingly and put it right. So run the channel, practice what you preach, as they say. Do you have experience in decommissioning legacy systems and code? It is a big in cost cutting that companies do in a recession. Happy to hear if you have interesting examples we could do in Miro. Yeah, so I think I do have experience on decommissioning legacy systems. Primarily, my background is on reporting, dashboards and reporting. I work on tools like Jasper, Tableau. So I'm more of a techno-functional person, and payments is something that is really, really like I find exciting, and that's why I picked it up. But yes, definitely. And what we will do is, I think Karishma had a very good suggestion to use payments as an example. So Vanellan, what we will do is, maybe we will use one of the payments use cases, and we will probably look at a payments use case where legacy decommissioning is required, and use that to drive our conversations on Miro going forward. Where do you book your backlog items for personal agenda? Is it in Jira? Well, that's a good one. I don't know if we have a free version of Jira available. Do we have? I don't know. I do use it in my projects. And I do a lot of playing around with Jira as well. But no, there is no such backlog, Karishma. It's like all on my laptop, and I just make notes here and there. It's a very, very messy room around me. So that's why what you see on that small corner screen is what I can show you. But it's a really, like, I like my place to be like messy all the time, so not very organized, to be honest. I know, like, it doesn't sound good when you talk about product management and things and you say that you are a messy person, but that's how it is. Okay, there is a free version. Fine. Probably, I think what we can do is, if it looks like a good thing to do, we can use this free version of Jira, because I think it's very, very important that we talk about Jira or Rally or some of the PM tools, right? Because otherwise, merely Miro might not be enough. Miro is more like about designing the workflows and how the work dependencies need to be addressed. The risks, etc. We can put on the board and those kind of things. But when it comes to like creating some live examples of how the features should be created, how the user stories should be created, how the personas should be defined, maybe Jira is something that we can look at. Another good suggestion. Thanks, Karishma. I'll put this here as well. Let me see if we can have. But I don't know, like with this live stream thing and with yeah, like so many people on just the chat, right? How practically this would work. But let me think something and let me see what we can do around it. We can have a something on Jira as well. But thank you. I'll probably use this for at least my backlogs personally. So thank you for that. All right, guys. I think that is pretty much it then. Yeah. Thank you once again. Look forward to meeting you all at least on YouTube or on live streams, and would be really glad if we can meet in person as well while I'm in Delhi in December. But let me know in the comments then. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good weekend. Thank you.